Hi there again. Hey, I just finished adding all of my coils and beads and little umbrella, not umbrella, rainbow kind of shapes here, and all the coils that wrapped around. Um, it's kind of tedious work, but it comes out with a cool kind of primitive design. That's all good. There are a couple things that I want to make sure you understand before I show you how to finish it, and that is each time I added a layer, each time I added, say, these two little beads, and I kind of flattened those beads out so they were a little bit more like, kind of like a fat pancake. It made it easier to attach all these. Each time I went inside, and you can kind of see the inside right down in here. I took the handle of a paintbrush, or you could take, the back end of a ballpoint pen or something like that, and I supported it on the outside, and I really did kind of scar it up like little crisscross movements to move the clay from one side over to the next side. So then kind of keep going back and forth till I really felt like the inside was sealed. The inside of these pots, you want them to be watertight. Okay, so the inside is where you really have to do a lot of your blending. Then I would take the other end of my paintbrush and just with a tiny bit of water, very tiny, try not to let a lot of water go down into the inside. It'll kind of degrade the clay down there. If you do, get a dry paintbrush and try to soak it up down there. So after you kind of scar it up and kind of blend the clay together, then you can use a paintbrush to kind of just smooth it out a little bit. At the very end, I did a row of beads all the way around to finish it, and then I did 2 coils. My pot, you might be able to tell, starts to get a little bit narrower toward the top. I didn't really intend that, it just happened. So I thought it would be nice to have a little bit of a flared lip. So I let these 2 coils slightly land outside, and then the next one go outside just a little bit. And then at the very end, when I blended them together, I used a paintbrush, and at the very end, I used a slightly damp fingertip, and again, supporting it on the outside. That is super important. Then I tried to kind of smooth in that last bit, so the part that you can see easily even got a little bit smoother. And you can take your finger inside there and do a little bit of that as well to smooth out stuff. But if it, you might see a little bit of a texture down inside there, and that's no big deal. I also, as I was working, and you can't see me now because I was paying attention to it, like I said in the last video, anytime you see little teeny tiny hairline cracks, you want to get just a little bit of moisture on your fingertip and just blend that away. Okay, and you'll notice, because you can't do this all in one day, if this took 3 or 4 sessions for me to do it, like class sessions, the clay down here starts to firm up just a little bit, and that's good. That's what you want, but it's still cool to the touch, and it's still pretty moist. Also, you will find, like up in here, that some of the lines between your parts kind of blend together, possibly a little bit. And that's okay too. The next part of this video, I'm going to show you how to clean that up. That happens because just when you handle it, just you're holding it and just gently pushing on it, it just kind of, the clay smushes together a little bit. No big deal. So the last bit, and remember it should be between 5 and 6 inches tall. I think I measured this one. This one is like exactly 5.5 inches. So you're fine. Think of it as, here's my cell phone. It's about as tall as my cell phone. That's a pretty good, gauge. It's at least as wide as my cell phone. Okay, that's all. If it's a little bit big, if I did this over again, I'd make mine just a shade bigger this way. I think it would have been easier to get my fingers in and around all that. Okay, that's about it for now, other than making sure down here, I wrote my name on this a couple of days ago, and just by putting it down and kind of lifting it up and putting it down, your name gets kind of smushed. So I'm going to have to go through that again and clean out all those little beads of clay with something small like a pencil. A pencil works better than a paper clip. A paper clip makes, for some reason, unless the clay gets pretty firm, sometimes those lines are almost too small. But a paper clip can work if you, certainly if you have a longer name and need to fit it in. But remember, the signature, think of it as part of your artwork. Make sure to kind of clean out and shave off and, kind of scrape off little crumbs and that kind of thing. Also, ooh, I forgot. Also what I did, the tip of a spoon, I use that also as my little blending tool on the inside. It's already rounded for you. And that turned out to be a pretty good little blending tool. And again, don't wait till the very end to blend the inside parts. Do it after each little thing each kind of layer that you apply. Otherwise, it's going to be impossible to get down inside there and do the blending. Okay, I'm going to set this overnight, and I'm not going to add a bunch of water right now. I'm just kind of smoothing it out. Don't let it bend. Don't let it squish and bend. It'll start to crack and break on you. I'm going to let it firm up just a little bit more under a piece of plastic. And the next part of this video will be how to use a few tools to kind of clean out some of these lines to give it a real finished look. Oh, I forgot to tell you something else. Ha! See this little bead right here? And there's the little guy right there? Just by making that bead and putting the coil over it, there was a little empty spot right there. So I just took a tiniest little teardrop shape, I dipped it in water and just pushed it right into that little hole, and just kind of gave it a little smush. You can see other ones like that too. I'm going to let them firm up a little bit. Then I will wind up maybe kind of blending them in. And blending them in, I'll do more of this off camera. But then I will do some cleanup in the next half of this video with a little tool, and I'll make that line kind of cleaned up again. But I have to let this get leather hard to do that. All right, so I'm going to shift gears, let it dry, and we'll continue on the tail end of this video or a brand new video. There you go.